Hello, welcome to the Tristan Pierce TED Talk. T-Talk if you will, TP Talk if you're feeling spicy. Today's video is about college. Should you go? Should you not? Should you drop out like I did? You know how that song goes. Should I stay or should I go? Okay, right, back to the T-Talk. Now, the purpose of this video isn't to tell you not to go to college. That's not my job to tell you what to do. In fact, you shouldn't be letting anyone tell you what to do other than yourself. My genuine intent with this video is honestly to help somebody who is undecided about whether or not they should go to college by just providing my feedback from my own personal experience in hopes that it helps you better understand what decision you should make. And if you are also someone who has dropped out of college, hello, nice to see ya. Now, don't get me wrong, I fully understand that college is very necessary depending on, what type of career path you're aiming for. And even after college, some careers require additional training afterwards before you can even start working. For example, something like a doctor or an attorney comes to mind. However, there are also other professions and careers that might just require some type of trade certificate, additional schooling of sorts, or honestly no higher education at all. And what really blows my mind is that we are supposed to make these life decisions, these life-altering decisions in high school. Like, I didn't even have a solid comprehension on how a job should make a person feel when I was in high school. However, being from the very small town that I was, the emphasis always weighed very heavily on leaving town immediately after high school to go get a university degree to become some nifty businessman that makes a bunch of money and has some important title. And if you didn't, they were going to convince you that you were going to stay trapped in town working on your family farm until it was time for you to take over. I mean, look at how American ideals are in general. It's always the pursuit of money, so it's only natural that that would get pushed on us. And this pursuit of money just completely disregards how we want to feel in life, which I think is very important, because I think there is a way to find a balance between what actually makes you happy and what provides financial income. Because you can't just say, I want to go be a hippie and live in the woods and meditate for the rest of my life and never make money. Because ultimately, we know money is very essential. It is the means with which we do everything in our lives. But I can't understand this money hungry attitude that we're supposed to have when we're still in high school. And because of this, I felt like what I wanted to do was unrealistic because it wasn't the standard way to make a good living. Besides, people who follow their dreams were not people like me or the people in my hometown. If I were to tell everyone at the time what I really wanted to do, nobody would have taken me seriously anyway, because only 0.01% of the population actually does that. So eventually, due to all this external pressure, I began shifting my focus from career paths based off of how I think they would make my life as meaningful as possible to career paths based off of their average annual income. And with time, I convinced myself that those career paths would be a degree in architecture and international business, and if I didn't get those, I would somehow not be happy and everyone around me would be disappointed. These degrees weren't something that I had no interest in. I mean, I could totally see myself doing those jobs. They just were not my first choice. Okay, now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get into why I didn't like college. Now, the number one thing that bothers me about college is the fact that you have to pay money to take classes that are totally unrelated to the degree you're trying to get. What are they called? Electives. I remember taking a class where we had to do reports on Coco the gorilla and her incredible ability to use American Sign Language. And while that was truly fascinating, I mean, guys, crazy, a gorilla knew sign language. But it also was super frustrating because I was paying a lot of money just to be learning that when I could have done so at home for free. And it also didn't help that due to some complications, I didn't qualify for the FAFSA program. So I was left paying for college 100% out of pocket. Now, if you're not an American, you're gonna be like, what's FAFSA? Wait, you have to pay for college out of pocket? Yes. I'm sorry, you didn't realize that we're not one of the countries that provides free higher education. We have to pay for it. So what I did after completing my first semester was I sat back, I thought about it, and I was like, nope. I'm not going back to that place. Waste of time, waste of my money. And that was that, literally. Now, if I hadn't started college in the first place, however, I don't think the sudden realization that all of the stuff I was preparing for wasn't actually what I wanted to do. So in a way, I'm thankful that I tried it out because I wanted to know for sure if the career path I was headed toward was right for me or not. With all of that being said, here are a few things that I learned along the way. So the first thing that I learned is just because you are interested in a certain thing doesn't mean that you should be doing it for a career. So the second thing that I learned was the consequences of getting into the trap of leading a life based on someone else's perception of reality. At the end of the day, you're the one who is going to have to live with the decisions that are made. Some people will tell you, go to school, don't go to school, chase the money, follow your passions. However, just because someone may want what's best for you doesn't mean that they know what's best for you. So learning to recognize your inner voice is very important for this very reason. It'll save you a lot of regret and perhaps resentment. I say resentment because what happens when someone gives us advice and it turns out to not be good advice? Sometimes we resent them for it or blame it on them, which is not exactly fair. So ultimately, we need to be standing behind the decisions that we make because if we do, it becomes our responsibility and no one else's. And the third thing that I learned is there is no one safe decision in life. Each of us are constantly growing and evolving while the external world does the same. The difference being that the external is partly out of our control. You might want something and fight for it for years, only to one day change your mind and start something new. However, I don't think there's anything wrong with just moving on to something else, especially if we're doing so out of our own desire. Because even though you've invested so much time and energy into something only to drop it and move on to something new, there is still so much value in the experience and knowledge that you've obtained along the way. So, getting a degree, dropping out of college, is it worth it? Well, ultimately, it depends. In whatever decision you make, you will learn a lot from it and end up growing from it. So do I regret dropping out of college? No, not at all. Do I regret paying for college and starting in the first place? Not even a little. That time was very crucial because it allowed me to try new things, test ideas, which led me to really understand a lot of stuff about myself that I didn't know before. So yeah, as much of a roller coaster the last few years have been, I definitely don't regret any of my decisions because in the end, I wasn't left with any of the what ifs in the back of my mind, and I also grew so much throughout all of that. So I would never take it back just to try to change anything. With all of this being said though, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, are you in the career that you thought you always would be? Did you stay on the path that you started from the beginning? Did your path change? If so, how did it change? I'm honestly really curious about everyone else's experience with this, so let me know down in the comments below and I will see you down there. Goodbye.